most federal employees don't know where to get competent advice on your federal employee health benefit plans. We enjoy finding inefficiencies and best practices when we're looking at federal benefits, and today we're going to take a look at that FEHB. In this episode, we're going to share our one tool that we like for comparing your federal employee health benefit plans, and we're going to give you our 5 best practices on your FEHB. Welcome. I'm Ed Smith, President of Valor Wealth Partners, where we're dedicated to educating federal employees on your complex and often underutilized benefits. In today's episode, we're taking a closer look on the FEHB. So let's first look at why we're doing this. First off, in 2024, there was 158 different options or plans that you had to choose. Now, that's significantly lower than last year when there was 271. We'll talk about it a little bit later of why that went down so much. But there's still a lot of plans to compare and not a lot of resources available. There's 2 of them that we use. First one is OPM. It's on the OPM website. It's a really good tool for certain things, like if you're looking at Medicare or just really trying to find that plan number or just something else. But for the most part, it really doesn't work that well. It's very clunky and it doesn't share a lot of really good data. So we found another tool. It's called the Consumer Checkbook FEHB Comparison Tool. Now, this tool is phenomenal. It might cost you a little bit of money, and when I say a little bit, like $20 in the year, but most agencies will pay for that in one way or another. On the Consumer Checkbook website, it actually tells you if you can take a look at different agencies, how they pay it, how they choose to be able to pay for this, and how you can get access to that if it's free. But if not, $20 to look at your FEHB plan and get this type of analysis is phenomenal. Now, Consumer Checkbook, just so you know a little bit about them, they're sort of like consumer reports, but they do not allow any advertising at all. So they are truly giving you unbiased advice and not swayed by any one plan or any one company. And they go a lot beyond the FEHB. There's a lot of local resources that you can do. So I would check them out. They're a great resource on a lot of things, but with FEHB specifically, the plan is incredible. Some areas with a consumer checkbook, you'll actually get to see doctors. You'll get to see the plans, like the average amount or a low usage or max usage. You can also compare the dental and vision plans. So it's a really good tool. We have a video that we created specifically on the consumer checkbook. So I don't want to go to too much detail, but if you want, take a look at the link, go to this resource. The video is a little bit old, but it hasn't really changed that much except for the data. It gets updated every year before open enrollment, so it's accessible on the day open enrollment happens. And so just definitely check that out. And we'll update that video occasionally to make sure that it's updated if it does get a little bit outdated. So please check that out. We love Consumer Checkbook. Phenomenal tool. Can't say enough about it. And it's just a lot better than OPM's tool, but both of them do have their advantages. Now that you know where to go to start comparing your plans, let's actually look at those 5 ways to maximize your FEHB. The first one, its name is a little scary, but I can tell you it's probably one of the best changes that we see when people look at this. And this is using a high deductible health plan, or an HDHP. Now, when you use a high deductible health plan, it's a different type of insurance. It's still a health insurance plan, but just how you use it and how you pay for things might be a little bit different. Like you have to use that deductible first. What we have found is people don't look at a high deductible health plan because of that name, high deductible. It seems like it's just going to be so overwhelming, people don't even look at it. But I can tell you can save thousands of dollars if this is good for you. Now, it isn't right for everybody. But I do advise everybody taking a look at it to see what the cost savings could be for you. And if it is good for you, then I would say, hey, maybe you should take a look at this. Now, one of the other things and one of the really good benefits about FEHB is that if you don't like something, the next year you can change it back. So if you try the high deductible health plan for a year and you don't like it, you can go back to a traditional type of plan. But because of the savings, it could be very significant that's there. Why are the savings so good? Well, let's first look at one thing is tax savings. Now, there's only 2 programs that I know of, and I've been doing this for 25 years, that give you triple tax savings. And when I say triple tax savings, that is a tax deduction when you purchase it, a gross tax-free, and the distribution is tax-free. That's triple tax savings. Now, the high deductible health plan isn't the triple tax savings by itself, but when you get this, it allows you to get what's called a HSA or a health savings account. Right? So with an HSA, that does have the triple tax savings, and this is a huge benefit. Now, with the high deductible health plan, because you're able to get this, you can be able to use this. This does not mean that you have to use your HSA for your high deductible, but it allows you to save in this way and it could grow. You also can be able to use this on a long term and a lot of different options. We have different videos on that. We don't really want to get into too many of the details. We really want to stick to those 5. So one of the things that when you're looking at the high deductible health plan, it's just not the premium savings that you have. You also get some incentives. So the government actually puts money into the HSA for you. So between the premium reduction and the incentive or the money that goes into HSA, you could see a significant amount that can actually pay for almost all of that higher deductible that you may have. All right. And then it's how that works. So if you're relatively healthy, this might be a really good plan for you, but definitely you want to look at the numbers. Again, when you're going back to that consumer checkbook, it will show you the variation between what you're currently using and maybe a different option of what those costs could be on low, average, high, or even the max out of pocket. And a lot of those high deductible plans do have a lower max out of pocket than your traditional Blue Cross plans or other plans that you might have. So definitely worth checking out. The number 2 thing that you want to be able to look at, or a best practice that we look at, is the complacency with the current plan you have. For whatever reason, you chose the health plan that you're on now. That doesn't mean it's a good plan. You might have gotten advice from a coworker, you might have gotten a coworker of a friend, or you just knew the name. Okay? But we stick with something and we're loyal to companies sometimes for whatever reason. That doesn't mean it's the best. We just start using something and then that's the thing that we use. Just because it's good doesn't mean it's good for you and then it doesn't change. All of these health plans change, but what you need to make sure is if it's the best plan for you. And I would say about every 5 years, you should really do an analysis to see, is this still the best plan for you? It's not something I feel that you should do every year, but maybe every 5 years or so, you want to do a full analysis to say, hey, does this work? Does this work for my doctors? And another thing, when you're looking at these plans, talk to your doctor's office. They'll know if there's a better plan out there or on your health situation, if there's something that's good for you. So definitely look at that complacency that's there. Earlier, I mentioned that there was 271 plans last year, and there's almost 180 this year. The reason why the drop was because Havana decided that they're going to get out of the FEHB program, and they're going to do this over 2 years. So that massive exodus from Havana took a lot of health plans out of the system, which makes it easier to do this. But if you're on a Havana plan, now you need to start looking at what the options are for you. So this is something that we have to be able to look at on a regular basis, that sometimes a company might just say, hey, I'm not going to do business with this anymore. I'm not going to be in this system. And it's nice to be able to know that you have some ways to be able to look at these different options for you. So definitely look at the plan you're on and just make sure it meets the needs of you and possibly your family, because these might have changed over time. The number 3 best practice is actually evaluating your current plan to see if there's any changes. Now, every year you will be notified about these changes. Now, how you're notified, you might get an email from the plan. It will be in the plan summary document, which is maybe 100, 200 pages, depending on where it is. But every year, every plan has changes, and I'm not just talking about premium changes. Last year with Blue Cross Blue Shield, the standard plan had 16 changes and the basic plan had 25, and that was going into 2024. The year before, it was in the 30s. So sometimes they're minor changes and sometimes they're significant. You need to know every year what these changes are so you can decide, do you stick with that same plan that you're on or do you find another plan? Now, if you're not seeing these changes, then somebody should be looking at them for you. All right. A good advisor will be actually notifying you of these plan changes, saying, hey, these are the changes to your health plan every year, making sure that you can be able to look at if it's still beneficial for you to stay in them. And if your advisor isn't doing that, the responsibility comes on you, because January 1st, when that plan changes, if you didn't know a prescription drug or a specific type of care that you were getting is no longer covered or that cost is going to go up, then that's going to be a heavy burden on you that you might be financially more responsible for, and you're stuck with that for a year. So it's just something that you really want to be on top of the changes that go on with your health plan, and just being able to watch these different types of things. Because I can tell you, with the healthcare system, they're making massive changes in a lot of different areas. And these companies aren't going to lose money. They're just going to change how they give care and the definitions, and they might sneak something in there. So just be aware. And this is something everybody has to be very careful of and watching every year on FEHB on your current plan. So hopefully you're taking advantage of that. All right. The next thing, number 4, it's looking at the the combination between Medicare and FEHB, when you get to that point, this is a very big transition. You've been on FEHB for maybe decades and you're very comfortable. So now you're going to switch over to Medicare or just FEHB or a combination of the two, or maybe you have another option like a TRICARE or something else. So looking at this coordination is a very big issue, and the best practice to do is really try to figure out what is the best option for you with looking at Medicare and FEHB or how they work together. Now, when we look at this, there really becomes two big problems. The first one is we have no clue what the healthcare system is going to look like in 2 years, 5 years, never mind 30 years. So if you're trying to plan out for the next 30 years and you're trying to make decisions based off of what the healthcare plan is today, that's probably going to change a little bit. So we have to be able to look at making sure that the plans that you have are flexible and can change when changes to the FEHB or Medicare system change. So you really want to be able to look at that. And this is a very tough challenge. The next problem that we see when you're looking at this problem or this best practice is, who do you trust? When you turn 64, looking at 65, you're going to be bombarded with all kinds of mail, and you're going to start seeing these ads on TV a little bit more prevalent. You're going to just get bombarded with advertisements on there. And these people are normally salespeople that are trying to sell you some type of insurance. So can you really trust what's going on with them? I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying you really have to figure out who you can trust and who you can get good, competent advice from. For us, we've been using a company called 65 Incorporated for the last couple of years. They are a phenomenal resource. They do not sell any insurance. We'll provide a link for it in the resources section on the notes page. We like them. It is a service that you do have to pay for, but you're going to get information that's specific to you. They're going to help educate you on what Medicare is, what FEHB is, how they can work together. And that's one of the things you want to be able to look at, is that it's not related to a product, but it's related to what you need most for you, on you as you go into this major step for Medicare. And a lot of these changes are irreversible. So if you make a bad change now or bad choice now, it could affect you for many years. So just take a look at Medicare and FEHB when you're looking at these different types of areas. The fifth and final best practice we look at with FEHB is understanding your dental and vision plans. Now, technically, dental and vision are under FEHB, but the open season is the same thing. And while you're looking at one, you should be looking at the other. So when you're looking at your dental and vision plans, I think a lot of people don't understand what goes into them and what things could be very dangerous for you. Like for us, one of the things that we look at is the maximum dental benefit per person. All right. This is a number that you really have to be able to look at of, if you're paying $800 a year, but the maximum benefit is only $1,500, are you getting enough benefit out of that dental coverage? All right. If you use dental coverage a lot, that's something you want to be able to look at. You want to be looking at your existing coverage that you're getting from your FEHB plans, because they might cover some coverage that you don't need in the dental. So there are some overlap on these different types of things. You want to be able to look at this. Now, with the vision plans, you want to be looking at if they have like LASIK surgery or what types of frames or glasses that you might be able to get, because some of those things can be very different on the different plans. All right. On the dental, like I said, looking at the max out of pocket, but looking at the type of coverage that you need and if it's going to be beneficial for you. All right. So with dental and vision, you want to be looking at this at the same time you're looking at the FEHB. And Consumer Checkbook actually has sections for both vision and dental. So while you're looking at that FEHB, you can be looking at these two as well, and it will be very beneficial for you to be able to do this. Hopefully you've gotten a lot of good information today, and that's what we want to be able to do. So please hit that like button just so we know to create more videos like this, and we'll do our best to make sure that happens. Now again, today was a lot of general information, and there's more detailed information in some of our other videos, and we provided some links available for you to be able to take a look at those. But things to be able to look at with FEHB, make sure you're on top of this stuff on an annual basis, because it is very important for you, and hopefully the resources we've shared with you to compare these plans will be very helpful as you start looking at these. We want the best for you and your family to get conflict-free, unbiased advice. Thank you very much for your time today, and we look forward to helping you in the next video.